And welcome to the second episode of The Observer. Today we'll be talking to Dr. Gail Defoe.
Papa C. Papa C.
Tana, what is it? What is it now?
Oh, go up, Papa C. Papa C. It's Sharon. She leave early this morning. She tell me she was just going and drop off something by she mother. Then when I check the mother, they say, like the line, they tell me she was there, she leave. I hear all kind of talk. Papa C, I don't know what to do. I'm tired of this girl, you know. I only you alone does really help me because the little thing you just give me, I just, you know, try to keep she now. All the money I get from the car wash, I just make sure and bring for she, Papa C. Papa C, I don't know what else to say, Papa C. Papa C, oh God, Papa C, I'm frustrated, Papa C, I'm frustrated.
You need to stop listening to people, stop listening to rumors. People around here like to talk, they just talk all kind of thing. They just talk about who with who, and who with who, and who with who husband, and who with who. Just stop that nonsense.
Papa C, oh God, I need something to keep she home. If you could give me something, something I could bury in the yard, something. Papa C, I need help, Papa C. Papa C, oh God, Papa C.
You have money on you?
Yeah.
All right, here what I want you to do. You see this? I don't want you to play with it. This is very, very serious.
All right.
Very serious. It's only few people know about this. It have people just talk about all kind of things. But you see this? Very important. Now here what I want you to do. I want you to rub some on the front gate.
Rub it on the gate.
And I want you to rub some of this on the front door.
And she go come home, how long so?
Let me say maybe about an hour and a half, give or take.
It could be less than that?
Within the hour and a half, Sharon will come home.
You say within an hour and a half time she will come home?
Sharon will come home. Oh, well, listen to me now, man. Stop the crying. She will come home, and she will be home for at least 2-3 days.
All right, Papa C.
You have any money on you? How much you have?
I have a few dollars on me. I have a 500 I make this morning. That is enough?
That could do. Don't worry, this could do.
Papa C, I ain't lying. It's only you I could turn to, boy. It's only you. Everybody else laughing at me, my friends saying, I don't know if she with her next man. What
you talking about? Other man and horn and all that. Sharon is not that type of person. I told you that before.
All right, Papa C.
Trust me. I never fail you. Trust me. You notice I don't wear mask or nothing, so I protected. Yes.
All right.
Yes, where were we?
You like this, baby?
Like it?
You like it?
I love it. Oh gosh, I love it.
And who was that knocking on the door?
That was your husband. You only have about an hour. Then you had to go home. But I love it. Oh gosh. And we have with us Dr. Gail Defoe, Ms. Gail to all in Wesley, Dominica. We have with us Dr. Gail Defoe, Ms. Gail to all in Wesley, Dominica, a former cancer research scientist, pathologist, herbal researcher, producer of herbal teas and herbal phytopharmaceuticals, CEO of Caribbean Agro Producers Corporation and Triacell CEO of Caribbean Agro Producers Corporation, regional and international suppliers of the above products, and their aim is to grow herbal business as a dynamic contributor to the Dominican GDP and also as the base for improving health and healthy outcomes in the Caribbean. Pleasant good evening to you, Dr. Defoe. Welcome.
Thank you, and to all your listeners.
Thank you. So much is being said about as far as alternative treatments for this COVID-19 virus. Now, when it comes to COVID, what early treatments will you recommend to assist persons manage symptoms and allow for early recovery?
Yes, and even as I answer that, I'd like to qualify it, because I think at the moment there are such, even this morning I had to answer one about steaming noses and so forth, and be mindful that we don't do any harm when we're trying to do good. So alternative treatments, I would say that when you say alternative, I want to differentiate between treating at home and being treated in hospital. So at the moment, there are no medications, I think, that we commonly know of. I'm not talking about the antibiotics and all of the other things that you would be given in hospital. As far as I know, there are two antivirals being used, something called Tamiflu and Remdesivir. They're not alternatives, they're the traditional ones that are being used. I'm not sure how effective Tamiflu is. I gather that remdesivir is being used as a treatment for COVID, but that it has to be given in hospital. So I would like to focus here on more what can be done before you get to hospital.
Right.
If you're going to take something alternatively for to manage your symptoms now, which is what I think you asked me, right? We're talking about COVID. We're not just talking about build your immune system. So differentiate for me. So I'd like to differentiate between what you can really take that makes a difference and between the common build up your immune system and strengthen your immune system. So let's differentiate between those two. So the basic things that we can do is make sure that we're eating healthy and that we are building our immune systems by the various foods that we eat. Last time I think, or I mentioned before, the problem that we have with diet that ends up with the diseases we have like hypertension, diabetes, cancers, heart disease, and at the basis of them in our Western world is mono diets. We think we eat a lot of variety. And so you may go to a takeout and they give you rice and peas or roti if it's Trinidad. You get, if it's Jamaica, something like a pasta salad. So you have rice, you have a pasta salad, and you have meat. For breakfast, you may have had bread, toast. For lunch, you had a sandwich. As I said, for lunch or dinner, you then had pasta, roti, or white rice. You've actually eaten about 70% of your regular diet in the same meal, flour. Glutenized white flour, not usually even whole wheat flour. So if you think of a body that needs thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of different molecules to build your body, we literally, I know it's commonly said you rebuild your body every 5 years or 7 years. I can't define an amount, but you literally have to be rebuilding your entire body. Question, can you rebuild your entire body with white rice, white flour, meat protein, and pasta? And so the diseases that we see that lend themselves to people getting more sick with COVID are deficiency diseases. We are a world of malnourished people at the moment. So basically, we have a complex immune system literally being supported by a handful of foods. So if we want to do anything, make sure you diversify your diet. Long term, that's what's going to build your system. That's what's going to get us out of where we are long term down the road. So as many different colored fruits and vegetables, as many different things you never thought you liked, but you need to try them. Okras, a red cabbage, white cabbage, lettuce, tomatoes, okras, eggplants, you name it. Carrots, make sure that your diet has a lot of different things. Now, a lot of the people who are getting sick, let's point out, do have very good diets. So what is it that would lend itself to somebody having a good diet and still ending up severely affected with COVID? We can't define and say for sure that we know everything that contributes to that. But the major thing that contributes to that is that you have cells in your body which contain, and just about every part of your body, brain, liver, lung, heart, bowel, have these cells on which there are ACE2 receptors. And they haven't found why one person seems to have more than another or more susceptible, but for sure in deficiency diseases, you seems to have more ACE2 receptors. And so the virus, the corona that we talk about, that's part that sticks out on the virus, latches onto these cells. And that explains the multiplicity of different symptoms that we see. If it happens to latch on to your nose, your lung, you're going to have a rhinitis. That is, your nose is going to be inflamed. If it happens to infect your lung, you're going to come down with pneumonia. If it happens to infect your bowel, you might then have vomiting and diarrhea. If it's your liver, it's liver failure, kidney failure. And I think up to 25% of people with COVID present with brain problems because there are receptors also in your brain. So all of that explains why we have so many different symptoms. So coming back to the question you asked me, if I appear to digress, is what is it that you want in alternative treatment that will actually prevent the virus from either attaching to those cells or progressing when they have attached. So far from just saying I need an anti-inflammatory like turmeric or ginger or this or that, we want to look for specific products that can block those receptors and block the virus for attaching to those receptors. And for those who are alternative medical professionals or researchers or herbalists, you want to make sure you do some research and find out if those plants you are using are able to attach to those receptors.
Say research, I mean, so much is being said and so much information is out there. Some may be a bit misleading. How do you get to the real core information that could be life-saving?
How did I get there?
Average
Or how does
individual.
one get there?
How does one get there, basically?
How does one get there? Okay, so I think it takes more in this COVID epidemic than ever before to ensure that if you're calling yourself an alternative medical practitioner or a herbalist or whatever, that you really do your research. This is not something to just sit down and throw handfuls of answers to people, do this, and I've seen some bizarre things, mix up 3 herbs. At the very beginning of this outbreak, I think last year, March or April, there was a New York-wide symposium looking at people who were dying doing exactly this, listening to people telling them to mix up a couple of herbs and it will do it. My background is as a cancer research scientist, as a pathophysiologist. So I looked carefully to ensure that I understood what was the pathology of the disease. And then we looked to see how we could make sure that our products that we source, that we have, actually could match and mitigate and support in COVID-19.
For many, it's being sold as the boogeyman of viruses, where we're seeing now in this region especially, there's a division where you have the CVAX, which is, I believe is the politically correct term, someone who is cautious, still looking on, trying to gather information. You have the AVAX, who is completely anti-vax, and you have the pro-vax. Now, when you look at this division, and what's taking place, especially here in Trinidad and Tobago, where you're being told now if you want to go to certain places, you have to be vaccinated. So you have to walk with your ID along, I guess, with your immunization card, which is your vaccine pass. What kind of long-term effects can we expect if this information that we're seeking to get some clarity is not there? How much of a division is this going to cause, and what sort of long-term effects we will have as a society?
Okay, I want to preface that by saying I think it is extremely important that we get vaccinated. It's not just about Trinidad or the Caribbean, but let's take it overall. If we had a disease that started in India, not in India, I'm talking about the Delta variant now, not COVID. If we had a very aggressive variant that started in India in December when they first tracked it, that is now the prevalent virus around the world. We now have another one, Mu, that is detected in Colombia, that has already spread to 11 countries and is at 25% in Colombia, recently detected. If everybody does not get on board, and the one thing that we could have in common across the world is vaccines. So when we talk to people about what we have to support them, it can't be just looking at my little neck of the woods, whether I have something in Dominica or you have something in Jamaica, no matter how good it is. We have to look to the bigger picture. As long as COVID continues to exist anywhere, we're all at risk because of the rapid spread. They're even thinking the new Mu variant might be even more virulent than the COVID, than the present Delta variant. They say very easily that Delta variant is as infectious as chickenpox. And we know that there's a way to measure it. You don't just say it with your mouth. You actually can measure how virulent or how likely to spread or replicate a virus is. And it's called the R0 value. And the R0 value of Delta is somewhere, depending on who you believe, between 5 and 9. Chickenpox is 12, and measles is 15. And so, if we do not really get down, I'm just lowering my volume in case that's your echo. if we do not vaccinate, we are going to be in a perpetual problem. Now, I'm going to digress a little bit and maybe be a little bit controversial, because if we face the reality of facts, and this is not a reason to not vaccinate, it actually is a reason to vaccinate even more. What has been seen over time, we're now 9 months into the new year, when most people have got vaccinated somewhere around March or April in North America. I think they were before that about December in England. Israel. What they're saying is that after about 6 months, the efficacy or the immunity level of vaccines is decreasing. We're seeing now in some places up to 25% of people with COVID, vaccinated people, fully vaccinated people, now being affected with COVID. That does not say vaccines are not effective. And I'm using effective, not efficacy, which two words actually mean something completely different. This does not mean that the vaccines are not effective. What means is that there's a natural system within your body, IgM, immunoglobulins, IgA, that decrease after 2 months in this particular variant, because you could have other variants of SARS like MERS or the true SARS, or think of several other types of coronavirus, in which it can last for 24 months. But in this variant, SARS-CoV-2, seems that the natural immunity is about 7, 8, 9 months. So we're going to need boosters to ramp that up. But they're still very effective against severe infection. So I think we want to change our narrative and not keep saying you will not get infected, because as we continue over the next months and years, we're going to have curves and pillows in which at the height of your immune system, that vaccine may be working 100%, but 9 months, 6 months down the road, you may be in a low point at which it only works at about 30% efficacy in terms of antibody function, but might allow you to resist severe disease more. So coming back to your point that you say now we cannot go in this place or the other unless we're completely vaccinated, I am prophesying that in another couple of months, we had better start looking at the people who are vaccinated and making sure that because of waning efficacy, you too are not spreading virus. Because we now know with the Delta that the people who are vaccinated who get the Delta variant can spread it at the same rate as people who are not vaccinated. And that is not a reason not to be vaccinated. Because whether they can spread it or not is to public health to make sure that they put measures in place that neither vaccinated nor unvaccinated spread it. And I think that may be a part of the spread, but also to ensure that we vaccinate, because we are going to keep people out of hospital and prevent them from dying. That's my take on the vaccination part of it.
And you spoke about this earlier as far as the changes, as far as the diet, especially in this region. I mean, we have seen where it has evolved, where there are more women on the workforce. That has, of course, taken away from how we eat, how our diets are. But we're paying a price now. We're hearing a lot about comorbidities and, of course, non-communicable diseases that are burdening the treasuries in this region. What is going to be our new normal moving forward dealing with these issues?
Had better be some severe. I'm speaking personally. I was in Jamaica, I think it was about 2004 or 5. And at the time in Jamaica, I don't want to be misquoted. Somebody back there remember, I'm just remembering. I think there were something like 126 spaces for dialysis at the public hospital. There were hundreds of thousands of people, I was told, with end-stage kidney failure. This is where you go with obesity, diabetes, and hypertension. You can almost name, after a couple of years of having one, you will have the other, and you'll have the other. Also cancers and heart disease. And so at the time, I was writing some health magazines for the Caribbean. And I remember it was for Dr. Lawson Douglas and Dr. Cadogan in Jamaica. I said, okay, we'll do a health magazine, not only to raise funds for the organization, the kidney, but we will also make sure it goes around the Caribbean, because your country, Trinidad, is one of the highest affected with diabetes in the world. Therefore, you ought to have a lot of kidney disease there as a comorbidity. Okay, and so I went to do my research on for this issue that we call kidney. And when I arrived in the Kingston Public Hospital, I expected to find people somewhere between 50 and 60 and 40 occupying these beds waiting for dialysis. You know what I found down there? Teenagers, 20-year-olds who were there on dialysis, and a lot of them on the list. So now we are seeing people in their end teens with end-stage kidney failure. We are seeing young children as young as 5 and 10 with the first beginnings of atherosclerosis. You talk about COVID. I don't think COVID would be anywhere where it was if we had not had this stash of comorbidities sitting, which we have not really aggressively understood, because we only talk about sickness in terms of ill health. Let's bring it to GDP. Let's look at the effect of sickness on GDP. Let's take somebody like a bricklayer, and I think a research was done. A bricklayer who is healthy can lay blocks, not bricks. A block layer can lay about 400 or 500 blocks a day. But if you have a block layer who has some comorbidity like diabetes, hypertension, peripheral neuropathy, and so forth, they can only lay 250 blocks. You spread that over your entire workforce, and you will see what effect comorbidities actually have on our GDP and ultimately on our ability as countries to function effectively.
And if you had to recommend, as far as key methods to strengthen one's immune system, what would you recommend?
Key methods, 3 things, not 2. So diet, very important, because if you don't put those cells in there, they can't work. And a good diet ought to reduce your fat cells. That's ultimately one of the things you have to do, because fat cells carry very little blood. If you've ever killed a cow or looked at fat, have you noticed that it's yellow? And if you look in there, you see very few blood vessels. So just imagine somebody who has a lot of fat in the abdomen. So your heart has to be pumping how much harder to pump blood to service fat. Also, the fat in your abdomen is going to press against the major blood vessels in your back that come from your heart. So not only is your heart working harder to pump that, not only is the fat oppressing your blood vessels, so your diet is not just to nourish my body, it has to be in obese people to begin to reduce overweight and keep it there. So we need good food, we need exercise, very important. Because if you're sedentary at any one time, it's been estimated 40% of your blood vessels are shut down. So you can eat all you want, that food is going to break down. It's going to stay in your body. If you don't exercise and you eat too much, you also end up in a problem, because your body now is unable to excrete the breakdown products of what you're eating. So they add to the toxicity of your body. Food, exercise. Let us not forget that one of the best estimates of somebody who is healthy is the stress level. You mentioned husbands and wives both working. We come home with not only our baggage, but the baggage from work. So I think it's extremely important what our mental attitudes are and what our social supports are and what we understand good health to mean. And when is enough enough? So if the goal is to achieve good health and good outcomes, we as a society need to begin to set realistic goals and realize that if you have a 5,000 house or a 10,000 man house, and I'm saying, I know at one stage I had to look and say, this house that we're both laboring to work for and build, how much time do I spend in it? For me, it was somewhere between 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, because I had emergency calls, and then maybe a part of Saturday and Sunday. You're going to live that life about 60 or 70 years. Is that our goal in life? And I'm not going to expand, because I think we've just gone way over the head in terms of what food and cars and this lifestyle means. And we've lost the real purpose and meaning in life.
Yeah, I think basically our priorities are a bit skewed at this time. That's what you're saying. Now, how can persons better manage in the workplace as far as, indoors, enclosed, air-conditioned spaces in which people spend hours breathing in the recirculated air? As far as the virus aerosols can get trapped. What do you recommend as far as being in such a locked space dealing with this virus?
Especially if you have to wear the mask for the whole day.
That's right.
Okay? So what we've done in our factory, and I guess it may not work, but that's why a lot of people are working from home. What we've done is to assign workspaces. And whereas before everybody walked up and down, and the miller will be coming in to speak to the person producing tea bags and walk into the front office, we have a strict regulation now where everybody owns a space and nobody can enter that space without permission. The person within that space is able to operate without a mask. Okay, you may not enter that space unless they show you in a designated area. I am not saying this will work for everybody. This has worked for us, where our people have been able to work and work within their own space and not have to be cleaning, spending the whole day wiping and cleaning. So front office, everybody is responsible to make sure you wash and sanitize and do that within your own space. You only do it at the end of day and beginning of day, and it's very firm. No one else is allowed to come into that space. That means in air-conditioned places now you can take off your mask and so forth. I don't know if that would help other people, but I think a little bit of management in terms of that can really help.
With that. And finally, what have been the benefits of nasal steaming? We hear a lot about nasal steaming with eucalyptus oil and so forth. Please give us some clarity on that.
I am shaking my head. I think just this morning I was writing about the Journal of Lung and Respiratory Health. We're literally begging people to stop steaming because of the burns that are being seen. So your natural nasal cavity and mouth are lined with cells. Those are very, very effective cells, very thin layer that are actually crafted to keep germs and viruses out of the rest of your body. Now, if you go and you put steam in there, number one, the virus actually, if I could ever draw a line, I would say, if you took a line down your nose here, to about the tip of your nose, and then drew it back to about here, the back of your ear, that's actually where your nasopharynx is at a juncture of 90%, 90. You're not going to get steam in there in any effective way. It has to be hot enough it almost burns you. And then how are you going to get it down in your lung? And so they're seeing really major burns in hospital. So if you go and you inhale hot steam and you singe those passages, you're even going to get COVID even easier if you're exposed, because now you're damaging those very cells that were designed to keep out the virus.
All right.
So although it may make you feel loose for a little bit, I personally think that steaming is a dangerous practice.
Thank you for clearing that up. Any final statements, comments, especially for the people of this region? I know you being as a Dominican, you really and truly always try to reach out to people in this region, try to educate them, try to tell them the best medical advice possible. What would you have to say to them?
Yes. Work with your healthcare. They are overburdened. We're running inside to hide, and they're running to look after you. So let us stop thinking that there's some nefarious conspiracy going on with medical personnel. People are learning in real time about the virus. So please do what you can in terms of masking, washing your hands, come up with whatever methods may work in your home or in your factory to lessen exposure. Make sure to get tested. Don't go along with all of these things that tell you if you do X, Y, and Z, then you have COVID and then you can do X, Y, and Z. Educate yourself is probably the best thing we can do. Use common sense. Because a lot of the things that the conspiracies are going around about, if you just use your common sense, you will realize, let's say, for instance, we're not taking the vaccine because the vaccine is designed to kill black people. Well, if we looked a little bit at black people's health, black people have been the most reluctant to take vaccines. Who are the people who are the majority vaccinated in our world? Whites, white countries. So if I were designing a vaccine to kill blacks, it wouldn't be a vaccine because the majority of the people who are going to end up dead are white people who are taking them. So as I said, common sense is the best thing to ask yourself. Is that logical? China gave India Delta variant, okay? Well, India produces most of the vaccines and most of the workable vaccines we have. So if China sent the virus to India, China had to make sure it was a virus that couldn't affect Chinese. So it doesn't make sense for China to give India, with which they share a border, a vaccine and a mutant that can come back and destroy China. So let's just use some common sense. Maybe it's the best thing we could do is common sense and think through the things we're saying.
And as far as dividing us, AVAX, CVAX, PVAX, we are one people. Most importantly, we need to have that information. And as you said, basic common sense. Thank you so much, Dr. Gildefu. It has been a pleasure. And of course, we hope to link with you sometime in the near future. Do have a wonderful evening. And again, it has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we riding with the candidate. I riding with the big boss. You don't know his victory. Regardless of what, all you know his victory is Tana. Oh, Carlo. Woohoo! Thank you. Thank you. It was a long battle. And I want to say something. This could have never happened if I didn't have the good people, the hard-working people that I have here in this room tonight. And I want to make it crystal clear. You see men like Tana? Tana, I want to thank you. Listen, man, Tana took us all over the place. Tana took me to some places in this constituency I didn't even know existed. We met the people, we talked to them, we made promises, and one thing I could tell you tonight, a man is only as good as his word. But I promise you that each and every one of you here tonight will be taken care of. Some of you came on the campaign trail, you was there, I saw you. I don't care, as I told Tana, I don't care if you ain't have no backhoe, you ain't have no wheelbarrow, you ain't have no shovel. At the end of the day, had it not been for your hard work, me being here tonight, having victory at the polls would have never happened. I want to thank Tana's daughter, Angela. Young, luscious, beautiful Angela. The party is in good hands. The constituency is in good hands.
Don't forget you have a wife.
Yes, yes, I know that. And my wife understands that, so don't worry about it. All of you, as from now, you have nothing to worry about. I will ensure, once I am there, and I have a voice, and I could tell the Prime Minister, you see these people, fix them up, because they are hard workers. We did it, we did it, we did it. Tell the permanent secretary, just if she could approve that, I want it approved by Friday because I have to get that check to the people. You know who I'm talking about? My people. Right, hold on. I don't know this number, you know. I don't know who. Hello? Who's this? Hello, the boss. The boss. I borrowed a man phone to get a call because I come on by the office several times. You remember the number you had? I called, it disconnected, it told me that out order. So I called, how did you get this number? Tana, is Tana you talking to the boss? Tana from the campaign trail. We went up all by Ballock Street, all in the back there. The boss had under real pressure, here what going on. My wife ended up leaving me because she tell me I am a fool. You understand? Because I run my blood to water and up to now. The boss look how long it is. And I, a man, really work hard, you know that too. And then to remember Angela, my daughter who was working with me in the campaign, she come and get pregnant. Well Tana, that's not important. That's not important. A baby is always a blessing. She aunt actually, she mother actually, she can't tell me who is the child father. Because the doctor say it happened, like it happened when we was campaigning. All right, perhaps it was one of the drivers. Or the driver, but me know who he was, you know. But she ain't saying who is the child father at all. There was a lot of people around at that time. A lot of people. Boss, I real under pressure. When I tell under pressure, I under real pressure, the boss. When maybe you tell me, I not have no kind of qualification. But Tana, you don't have anything. You don't have a wheelbarrow, you don't have a shovel. And you expect to get work? Look, I campaign, I come out there all hours of the night, anything you ask me to do, I carry a bike, fellas and them. The fellas right now, the fellas coasting on me, the body coasting on me. But there's no need for you to throw that back in my face, you know. I know, no, I'm throwing it back in your face. I am doing my best right now. Understand? Hold on. All right. If anything, 15%. 15%. All right? You know what I'm talking about. Tana, listen, I cannot stay on the phone much longer with you, but if there's anything, come down by the office and check me now. Call my secretary and let's see if we can arrange something for you, okay? Did you get a hamper? You don't need help? You need some slow playing music, man. All right, listen. Tana, if anything, I will see what I can do for you, okay? All right. All right, it was. My goodness, the nerve of some people. I don't know. I don't owe anybody anything.
Well, that brings us to the end of our second episode of The Observer with yours truly, Mikee K. I want to thank today's guest, Dr. Gail Defoe. And as always, it's more than just looking on, it's observing everything. Until next time, stay safe and have a good one.